This is a video on zero and negative exponents. We'll start with the zero exponent. It's actually a pretty easy concept. So anything to the zero is going to be equal to 1. It's that simple. The only thing where that doesn't apply is 0 to the 0 power, which we're not going to worry about right now. So 0 to the 0 power is not 1. But anything else to the 0 power is 1. So for example, we have these two problems to look at down here. So we have 729, x to the negative 4th, y to the 5.3, and z to the negative 1. That is ugly stuff. And then I'm raising it to the negative 1.93. This is not fun, not friendly, not nice. But what is nice about this is all of that is being raised to the 0 power. So no matter what this is, as long as it's not 0, if I raise that to the 0 power, I will get 1. So even though this looks like a horrible problem, it's really not. The second example we have is 3/4 to the 0 power. Now, again, anything to the 0 power is 1. So this part becomes 1, and I have to square 1, which is 1. That's pretty much it for zero exponents. So let's talk about negative exponents. Negative exponents essentially would be like taking the reciprocal. So b to the negative 1 is the same as 1 divided by b to the first power. So I like to think about all these exponents as fractions. So b to the negative 1 is really being divided by 1. And the b goes into the denominator, changes the exponent to a positive, leaving, we can't really see that coefficient in front of that b, but if there isn't one, there's a 1. So that 1 stays there, and then 1 in the bottom stays there, and we multiply by the b. So a couple examples of negative exponents would be here. We have 1 divided by 3 to the negative 2. Now, I've kind of gone through some process thinking here. First of all, if we looked at 3 to the negative 2, that is the same as 1 divided by 3 to the 2. So in that case, we would have a fraction within our fraction. So we have 1 divided by a fraction. We're going to multiply the numerator by the reciprocal of the denominator. And then 3 squared times 1 is just 3 squared. So we would finish that off by squaring the 3 and get 9. So 3 to the negative 2. Another way to think about it is, again, I'm going to just rewrite this problem. 1 over 3 to the negative 2. If I think about this, this value with the negative exponent is in the wrong place. There's either a numerator or a denominator. If you have a negative, it doesn't belong there. We want to move it. We move it to the other place. So if it's in the denominator, we move it up to the numerator, and it skips all of these steps, and it jumps us right to that step, and then we can write our squared. The next problem, we're going to use that same strategy. So if I looked at 4x to the negative 1, y squared, z to the negative 5th. Okay, a lot of the problems that you're going to see in this area are going to be asking for things without a negative exponent. So these two values here have negative exponents. These two values here do not. So I'm going to write this as a fraction. Anything with a positive exponent stays exactly where it is. Anything with a negative exponent is going to move into the denominator, and those exponents are going to change into positive numbers. Oh, I definitely messed that up. Z. So the y squared stays in the top, the 4 stays in the top, because they have positive exponents. Now, you don't see the exponent for the 4, it's really just a 1, but it's still a positive 1. So we end up getting 4y squared over xz to the 5th. This next problem, there are other rules that you may already know that you could use here. But what we're really talking about is this negative exponent piece. So these two pieces are in the wrong location. So I'm going to move the x to the negative 5th out of the denominator. I'm going to move the y to the negative 1 out of the numerator. And all of the other pieces, the 2x squared is going to stay in the top. The y to the 4th is going to stay in the bottom. These pieces here, they're already positive exponents. And then the other pieces will be moved. So the y to the negative 1 moves to the bottom, becomes positive 1. And the x to the negative 5th moves to the top and becomes positive 5. This now allows me to use other rules. Now, if you know those rules, great. If not, don't worry about it. If you understand what I've done, then you're ready to kind of move on. If you know those rules, you know that this will be your final answer there. So this is just getting us ready for some other rules. So if you're good with this first step, then you understand negative exponent.